Hello, my name is Michelle Lucena, and we are going to go over understanding the Hispanic culture. Latinos within the counseling field, we're going to discuss the cultural group defined and characteristics and strengths of this group, challenges and implications that may occur, and clinical research implications, and the roles that the counselor will play, and the advocacy for this group. The Latino cultural group defined, they are not a race themselves, and they're not considered Hispanic either. Latinos are technically any race or combination of races, and it's the Census Bureau in the United States that attempts to classify Hispanics or Latinos as Spanish speakers and persons belonging to a household where Spanish was spoken, persons with Spanish heritage by birth location, and persons who self-identify with Latin America, excluding Brazil. Characteristics and strengths of Latinos. It's important to note that there are differences between Latinos and Hispanics and other races. Physical contact is very important to them. Personal space tends to be closer. Appearance is extremely important to all Latinos, how they dress, how they look when they go out in public. They're more spiritual in nature. Their homes are more decorative. And they care for the goals of the group versus the individual. They prefer a friendly or amicable relationship versus confrontational. And the family is really important, as it's a close-knit group and the most important social unit to them. Also, religion is central to the marriage and family life in the Latino culture. Important differences to note have to do with gender roles, as you can see here, between the man and the woman within the marriage. Hispanics usually give great importance and place great value on looks and appearance, as I said before, as a sense of honor and dignity and pride. They dress formally to go to church, parties, social gatherings, work. We see that a lot here in South Florida. When you go out to the clubs, you go out to dinner, you can kind of pick up on that when there are Latino families around, how they dress. To fully engage the Hispanic audience in the learning process, attention should be given to gaining trust. And this is part of the therapist role as well, as we'll discuss later. Challenges of this cultural group: education. Immigrants in general, but especially the illegal, are considered more likely than natives to have low levels of education. Less than 2% of natives have less than a ninth grade education, but 15% of legal immigrants and 32% of unauthorized migrants have this little education. In the labor work field, 26% of workers in the landscaping service industry are unauthorized. About 1 in 5 workers in the meat poultry packing industry is unauthorized, and below are some percentages of the population of unauthorized workers that are Latino or Hispanic. Their income is typically lower, especially for unauthorized migrant families, 40% below the average income of a legal immigrant or a native family to their country. Immigrants tend to have a larger family than natives, so that lower income leads to poverty because they can't provide for all the people in the house. Spanish language. More than half of today's immigrants come from Spanish-speaking countries. So the belief is that they have less incentive to learn English than the immigrants in the cities a century ago. Also, a large number of illegal Mexican immigrants are unwilling or unable to participate in mainstream social and political institutions. This affects voting, especially coming up in November. This affects the willingness to learn to speak English, and it makes it difficult in places that aren't South Florida, where Spanish is not commonly spoke. Religion can also be a challenge. They don't have assistance required for a successful transition. As I stated before, they're very religious in nature. And one of the most common difficulties faced is losing their domestic church. And they find it difficult to compete with newer culture that their children are exposed to, the more mainstream media. And this deficiency tends to lead the children to quickly adopt the death culture, as they call, that leads them to what they believe is an empty life based on liberalism, consumerism, greed, alcoholism, abortion, drugs, independency, and so on and so forth. We see that in today's society, especially with the younger children. Clinical and research implications. The counselors should not generalize research findings or stereotype all Hispanics. First and foremost, they should not assume that things such as liking rice and beans or salsa merengue is characteristic or true for all Hispanics. That's a blatant assumption and a false assumption. They should take the time to learn about Hispanics' country of origin prior to their first appointment, to learn more about their community and more about their culture. The counselor should conduct a thorough social and cultural assessment of Hispanics at intake, and when it's appropriate, they should engage the Hispanics' family. As stated before, family is the nucleus of the Hispanic community, and they play a critical role in the culture and may serve as key support to the wellness and recovery efforts of the person who is seeking counseling. And lastly, the role in advocacy, how they would advocate for the client. The counselor should take the time to educate Hispanics in the community about mental issues, including the array of mental health care treatments that are available and the benefits of obtaining services, as they may not be aware of this, and the different diagnostic categories, symptoms, and treatment that are available. And they should also engage leaders from the Hispanic community to assist with learning more about the Hispanic group, to serve as a broker to access various Hispanic venues within the community, where they can conduct outreach and educational awareness and involve the entire community so they don't feel as left out. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned a little bit about the Latino culture.